Whenever you have something huge going on and all of the cameras are trained on one particular thing, that's when Washington, D.C. decides, well, now everybody's distracted. Let's go ahead and just get rid of a bunch of stuff so maybe they won't notice. And that's kind of what they're doing right now. And one of the first ones was Osama bin Laden's bodyguard was released from Gitmo. Tell me about this.
I got to tell you, Dana, as much of a dark art as that is in D.C., the art of the news dump. It used to be that news dumps were confined to weekends and to holidays, but this administration has made it into an insidious art. And now we see a succession of news dumps over the course of the papal visit. The first one, which you mentioned, Osama bin Laden's longtime bodyguard was released from Guantanamo Bay. He was released from into Saudi Arabian custody. This is something that slid under the radar while everybody else was focused on hashtag Pope in D.C., Popalooza, Pope of climate change, Pope of immigration, feed the homeless and the hungry. And it's unbelievable. A story of such national security import went virtually undetected as the entire media focused on the Pope. And unfortunately, this isn't the first piece that slid under the radar. It was one of the more notorious ones. But earlier this morning, we learned that the appeal for the decorated special operations sergeant who stepped in and defended a boy in Afghanistan from being repeatedly raped by a local police chief, from being used as under the local bachabazi practice, that his appeal in order to be reinstated and re-enlisted into the Army was denied by the Army. And it's a disgraceful story. It's totally outrageous. But again, this was something that slid under the radar, as so many other stories unfavorable to this administration have slid under the radar, as the rest of the world seems to focus on the shiny object that is a papal visit to D.C.
And this particular story, I mean, this isn't as though, which it's still horrible, and it doesn't change the depravity of the act, but it isn't as though we're talking about Afghan commanders who are abusing children like in their villages. This is happening on U.S. bases. And this Green Beret had confronted, from the reports, this Afghan commander, and had confronted him. The commander had been raping a boy. He assaulted the mother who tried to protect her son, and he gets disciplined. And this is this actual official policy from the Department of Defense or the Pentagon?
You know, many years ago, I took an enlistment oath to uphold and protect and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And nowhere in that oath did I take an oath to protect and defend child molesters. Right. It's absolutely disgusting. What's worse, had this soldier done that, and had the captain that backed them up, had they done this on a military base, they would have been liable under Articles 120, 125, 134, and the captain 133 of the UCMJ. And after a lengthy court-martial process, they would have spent a long stay in our accommodations in Fort Leavenworth. But because it's an Afghan national, because it's a potential partner, we have to look the other way. This is disgraceful. This is disgusting. This is never in my lifetime that I imagine that our forces would be compelled and forced to basically co-sign pederasty. It's really disturbing.
And our tax dollars being used to support it, because I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Jorge, but our tax dollars are going to train and arm these guys.
To train them, to arm them, to pay them. Some of the money that goes into rebuilding neighborhoods. When the coin was a government policy and was in full swing, we would sort of have taxpayer money would grease the skids to sort of open access to these, whether it be the warlords or the tribal chiefs. And it's absolutely appalling that our soldiers are compelled to look the other way while this practice goes on. And it's even worse that this would come out in the middle of Popalooza, while and done so insidiously and willfully and purposely while nobody's watching.